Democracy has been defined as government of the people, by the people, and for the people. This seemingly has been embraced by several African countries as the wind of change blew across the African continent in the early 1990s, with several African countries embracing democracy, Cameroon inclusive. The advancement of democracy seems to be very slow in CEMAC sub-region, but this is not the case in the East African community as well as the West African community, where respect of term limits has been strictly respected within the East African community, the West African community. This process in Kenya was a litmus test in 2017 as the Kenyan Supreme Court reached a landmark decision. This would not have been achieved in other localities within Africa, especially in CEMAC, where the Supreme Court reached a decision 4-2 to nullify the election that was between President Uhuru Kenyatta, the incumbent at the time, and Raila Odinga, the main opposition leader. Chief Justice Maraga David reached a landmark decision by stating that the election of 2017 was carried out following an unconstitutional manner. This has never been seen before in African continent, where the Supreme Court is nullifying the election of electoral result of an incumbent candidate, and that was applauded across the national and international frontier as NGOs and United Nations organization and some world bodies applauded the initiative and stated that this is welcoming in Africa, especially at a time when negative results are being given in Africa. This decision gave a blue tick to Kenya's democratic process, and recently the Supreme Court again nullified the decision taken by President Uhuru Kenyatta in what they constitute it as unconstitutional referendum under the BBI initiative launched by President Uhuru, known as the Building Bridge Initiative, aimed at expanding the government, creating new constituencies that was described by Deputy President Ruto as expanding the government, which is unacceptable. The Supreme Court took the decision in favor of the Deputy President. On August 9, 2022, Kenyans again headed to the poll to decide who is to replace President Uhuru, who has come to an end to his 2-term mandate, which cannot be renewed under the Constitution. This is historic, as described by Kenyan, as President Uhuru, instead of backing his deputy president, who stood by him within this 2-year mandate, is instead backing the opposition, Raila Odinga. And Ruto, who is very young and seen as a hustler, is on the landmark, moving towards the presidency, as well as Raila Odinga in a net-to-net election. This election have also been looked as the litmus test for peace in Kenya that is known for violence in other elections, as cases were headed to the Supreme cases were taken at the International Criminal Court of Justice. President Uhuru Kenyatta also is on the front line campaigning for Raila Odinga. What would be the outcome for this election? And if this would have been Cameroon, what would have been for us Cameroonians? President Uhuru Kenyatta is on the front line as Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto are battling. This is House of Commons. We meet Tah Mai Jarvis. You're welcome back. Supporters of both sides are claiming victory despite the fact that the election in Kenya will be declared on Tuesday. And after the declaration of the election, the candidates who may not be who may not be in accordance with the election have the latitude to go to court to defend or to protest the election. As both sides of both supporters are claiming victory, the frontline leaders have called for calm and respect of the electoral result. As it stands now, it is so dicey for any candidate to be seen or to be described as the winner of the election, except the Independent Electoral Commission charged with the declaration of the result will do that. But what is interesting here to note is that the election took place on the 9th of August and the vote counting is transparent. It's done in a way that all Kenyans are following up the results as they are chipping in, and it will take just a week. This is the longest so far that it has taken for the presidential for the result not to have been declared as of now. The reason behind this is because of the fact that there are several petitions and protests in the tallying centers. But however, the Independent Electoral Commission has stated that on Tuesday the results will be declared, and the candidates who may not be appeased with the result will have the chance to go to court. Here in the studio, we are joined by Ignatius. Also in the United States, we shall be joined by Ngalim. We've been struggling to connect him via Skype. Because of challenges, we are unable to do so. We're supposed to have Senior Barrister Achu Manuel, who is also was supposed to be here, but we have not seen. He is not here in the studio. Also, the woman Manuel, who was supposed to be here, we still don't know why they are not here. We want to apologize for the late start of the program. Ignatius, thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, Jarvis, and good afternoon to televiewers of My Media Prime, particularly the House of Commons. I would like to comment that a leader is a person who is devoted to work to the people, and it must be approved by the people. A leader is not the one who forces himself or herself to lead the people. If you force yourself, it means that you have something hidden. Remember that a leader, as a president, the ruling party must not necessarily have a majority in the House of Representatives, like the Parliament. The ruling party can also have minority, because the laws are voted reflecting to the demands of the people they are representing. Yes, as compared to some countries.
We're coming back to you.
So good afternoon. Let me just say good afternoon to Barrister John in Limbe, who is a keen follower of this program. Maybe he may be following up right now. Good afternoon once more.
Of course, Mr. Ngalim, thanks for joining us. We have difficulties connecting you via Skype.
Thank you very much for having me, Jarvis. It's unfortunate that we couldn't connect due to connectivity issues, but those are man-made innovations, and sometimes they come with these challenges. Thank you for having me. My regards to Mr. Ignatius, to you and to every other person, especially the technicians who are doing a fabulous job behind the scenes.
Okay, I will start with you. First of all, I want us to look at the Kenya election, comparing it with the scenario from Cameroon. What lessons can Cameroonians learn from this? Because this is an election which has been described as historic, where the incumbent, rather the outgoing president, is not backing or is not supporting his running mate who stood by him twice. What can you make of this?
For a very long time, and at the end of the day, the two of them can reconcile and work together.
Okay. Now, is this? I don't know, but when you look at this scenario, is this something? Is this something that we can say that the election is, you know, on a flat surface? Everybody is given the opportunity. I'm saying that can we say that it is a level ground for both parties?
I would argue that the Kenyan political system is relatively level, is relatively open to all parties, especially considering that the Supreme Court of Kenya has come out with decisions that do not favor the incumbent executive. You know, the previous presidential elections, even though Uhuru won again after the Supreme Court had annulled the results of the elections, that was a strong lesson to show that there is transparency and that there are checks and balances. Again, with the BBI project that you just mentioned,
yes,
the Supreme Court ruled against the incumbent president, meaning the president can be held to check. So there could be some issues of discrepancy or issues that could promote rigging or cheating or whatsoever, but on the underlying circumstances, we see that there is a degree of checks and balances which is fundamental to transparency in an electoral process. So I would argue in the affirmative that yes, there is transparency in the Kenyan electoral system. And even to think that the outgoing president, is campaigning against his deputy president, and there is no fight between the two of them. The incumbent president has not tried to sack his deputy, despite the fact that they disagree and they are now running on two different platforms. You understand that the rule of law is well enshrined and the rule of law is governing what they are doing. So there is this balance, and I think there is a high chance that there is transparency and the elections are smooth.
Comparing that to Cameroon, how would the picture look like?
I think it would be very difficult to compare the Kenyan situation to the Cameroonian situation, and it's historical, it's legal, and it's political. Historical because Cameroon has not known free and fair elections throughout its history. Political because the setup between the two countries are completely different. You know, the Kenyans are born. The Kenyans have known what is called democracy. They have changed their leaders very often, and the political the peak of the crisis, the conflict that peaked Uhuru Kenyatta to Raila Odinga, actually changed the way they look at things in Kenya. And I would also want to think that the mere fact that the International Criminal Court of Justice, the International Criminal Court actually decided to take on this case, on the case between Uhuru against Uhuru and Ruto against Odinga, has also been a check in their history, because though the prosecutors at the ICC withdrew the case, they said if they get new evidence, they will come back, they will bring the case back to court. So that kind of keeps that keeps the politicians, you know, aware and awake that if they make some mistakes again, they may likely go back to that court. And you know, one of the reasons that for which the case was dropped was because it was against the sitting president and the sitting vice president.
Yes.
And Africans were like, this is not correct. You cannot take sitting presidents to that court. Even though the prosecutor ended up saying it's because of political interference with the witnesses and threats against the witnesses, fundamentally we know that it was a public relations, a public image issue, and it was withdrawn. So they are aware of the fact that if they misbehave this time, the case may go back, and that brings out a lesson it's a criminal law. One of the objectives of criminal law is to serve as a deterrence to bad behavior.
Okay.
So this, is actually serving as a deterrence to bad behavior, and the two of them, the three of them, Raila, Uhuru, and Ruto, are definitely going to comply just to avoid unpleasant circumstances in the future.
Thank you. We're coming back to you, Mr. Ignatius. How do you look at this election, and how do you, from what Mr. Ngalim just said, are you okay with the fact that these people are going to accept the outcome and over fear of being taken to the ICC in case they incite violence?
Yes, I'm confident that they are going to accept the results that will be declared by the Electoral Commission. And I would like to start from somewhere, Jarvis. Do you know that in Cameroon, just some weeks ago, there had been a debate talking about whether an Anglophone should be the next president of Cameroon. I'm saying that Kenya has just called it, because Kenya is an English-speaking country, like Ghana, like South Africa. That is already a big lesson that the Cameroonians should learn. And then I also like to comment that Uhuru Kenyatta has been a very good lesson. The way he managed the country from the day he became president up to now that he's stepping down, it has been a very good lesson to these candidates. So this candidate, I would like to, if they were listening to us,
of course,
they're listening to all of them are already victorious. To attain this level, even you don't become the declared president, you are already the president, because they respect that they deserve, they are already having it. And their reaction is already a lesson through Africa. So, but my question is, I don't know whether the other African countries are going to learn.
Cameroon.
Yeah, whether Cameroon in particular, are we going to learn a lesson from what has happened? Because you see, Uhuru Kenyatta has respected the decision, even the decision of the Supreme Court. Something, you know, in Cameroon, when you see in Cameroon, especially when our brothers and sisters from the ruling party, they will even tell you that the legislative board and the legal that are even independent more than Kenya, but things are always going worse. But this one is a very good lesson. So in Kenya, the only thing that I was afraid is that the two of them were declaring themselves victorious. It's not good. You see, they are already having an electoral board that at least I have confidence in. The only thing that I see that their electoral board similar to Cameroon is that the members have been appointed by the president. The 7 members have been appointed by the president. But the result is going to be declared by the electoral board. Why in Cameroon the result is declared by the Constitutional Council, not them? So
which means that in Cameroon we don't trust the electoral board to declare the election.
President himself who has appointed the members of the electorate, it means that he does not have confidence on them. It is the Constitutional Council that declared the result. See, everything around Kenya is showing that Kenya is I believe that, and secondly, Kenyans, they have already learned a lesson from the riots of the 2007. 2007, they lost 1,200 people. 1,200 people died. Around 600,000 people, they abandoned their homes to escape to fear of being killed. I believe that one they are trying to correct it. And then there's another thing also. Uhuru Kenyatta, just the reconciliation that he had with Odinga.
After Odinga declared himself the president and carried out an installed himself as president.
He succeeded to bring Odinga, and they had a reconciliation.
But in Cameroon, what happened in Cameroon?
You will notice
the
that
2018 election.
You will notice that when the ICC was trying to take Uhuru to the court, had it been they were not in good terms, you see that Odinga would have maybe supported it for him to be taken to the International Court of Justice. But it's because of, you see, when the leaders understand themselves, the citizens will enjoy. You know, we say in our, we always say that when two elephants are fighting, you see the grass around. Kenyans should be celebrating now because we see a brighter days ahead. We are waiting for Tuesday, and I want to call that they should just respect. Because really, if the Supreme Court could stand and face the president, it's not the electoral it's not the electoral board that the Supreme Court would be afraid this time around to cancel any result that will be declared by them. So this result, I have confidence that the result that will come out is going to be the true result.
Mr. Ngali, are you there with us? Unfortunately, we lost Mr. Ngali. I will be getting back to him to get to know more about this. But I want us to listen to the decision that was passed by the Kenyan Supreme Court in 2017 when they had a similar situation like this. Remember that after the election was nullified by the Supreme Court Chief Justice David Maraga, which was a 4-2 decision. After it was nullified by the Supreme Court Justice, Mr. Odinga did not take part in in the rerun of the election. Instead, he went ahead and appointed himself as the people's president and also carried out an oath-taking ceremony and declared himself as the commander-in-chief. So, which means at the time in 2017, the Kenyans, the nation was grappling between two presidential candidates. Mr. Ngalim is here with us. Mr. Ngalim, before we take on the excerpt of the Supreme Court in 2017, I want you to to react on this. Odinga declared himself president in 2017 after the Supreme Court has nullified the election, which means that his decision to declare himself president was against the Supreme Court ruling, but yet he was not charged for treason. There was instead a reconciliation known as a handshake. In Cameroon, how would that have looked like?
I'm not sure I got the latter part of the question.
I'm saying that Odinga declared himself president in 2017, even though the Supreme Court had nullified the election and called for rerun. He refused the rerun and instead went ahead and installed himself president. But there was a reconciliation. He was not charged with treason. In Cameroon, how would that have been handled? Comparing the two sides, looking at 2018 in Cameroon.
Yeah, you know, Jarvis, politics is a game. Politics is a game, right, where people express their minds and act in particular ways. Politics is a game where people express their minds, but that game is governed by the rule of law. And one of the cardinal principles of democracy is the respect of people's free will to say what they want to say and do what they want to do. That's called freedom of speech and freedom of expression. The fact that the Supreme Court had made this decision does not stop anybody from saying or from doing what they want to do. But at the end of the day, the Supreme Court's decision is supposed to be respected. Whether Raila installed himself or not, whether he declared himself winner or not, it is the Supreme Court's decision that was implemented until today. And Raila has obliged himself, has respected that Supreme Court decision. And so there is, I don't want us to read too much into Raila's action.
I want us now to look at this.
It was just an action
I want us to look at the fact that there was reconciliation. Even at that, the president did not take him to court. He was not locked up. But in Cameroon, how would that have been handled? Looking at the 2018. Is it a lesson for Cameroon to say that, okay, we should not lock up our opposition leaders and we should rather reconcile with them?
Yeah, I would not want to read what might have happened if we were Raila, but we have circumstances in Cameroon. In 1992, Niger declared himself victorious. In 2018, Kamto declared himself the scorer of the penalty. Kamto has never said that he won the election, just said he scored the penalty. And people have interpreted that to mean Kamto has declared himself as a winner. Now, the difference between what happens in Kenya and what happens in Cameroon is the Cameroonian government takes offense when you kind of say that you have won the elections, and they mount armies of defense to fight against you and defend the government. The CPDM does that. So in Cameroon, it's very clear that if you go a little step further, and if they see that you have a rising popularity or a strong popularity, it's very possible that you will be sent behind bars. That happened to Kamto, and he was even accused of causing an insurrection simply because they thought that his demonstration or his manifestations, which would point under different topics, were a continuation of his declaration of victory at the last elections. So as you said and as you think, it's very obvious that when politicians feel threatened, they take actions. But sometimes in Cameroon, it goes to an extreme. You know, the Cameroonian government weaponizes and uses the judiciary to silence their opponents. So you would see it's historical. Frundi was under house arrest for a very long time. Then when they realized that Frundi's power had waned, had died down, they left Fundi now to become a free man, a free politician who can start talking everywhere and going everywhere and doing his things the way he wants them. Then when Kamto came up and was this popular, they are now using the same tactics that they used on Fundi. They are using them on Kamto. The question is, how successful is that going to be? When you compare Kamto's activism between 2018 and 2022, you see the action is dying down. You know, Kamto, he was very active, but when he was sent to prison, when he was kept under house arrest, when he's constantly being attacked, when his militants are turned up against him, you know, he feels the strength, or it weighs on him. And these things, they come gradually. These political actions to weigh down a political opponent come gradually. And you see, it's a complete reverse from what is happening in Kenya. In Kenya, the government has not been using the state police, the military, or the courts to impress on their populations who are against them. Macron even said that he told Paul Biya that if you don't release don't come to France for this summit. You see, it's kind of the relationship between the two, not the relationship, experiences in these two countries are not very comparable, because like I said, we need to also compare the historical evolution in these countries. Would Great Britain have that impact on Kenya as much as France has on Cameroon? I don't think so. And you know, what happened again in 2010 at the International Criminal Court is hanging over their heads. They are aware of the fact that if they misbehave, they'll definitely or most probably be going back to the International Criminal Court. So I don't foresee any violence after these elections. I foresee a situation where they would understand themselves and comply with the decisions of the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court has proven to be transparent. The Supreme Court has proven to be active and to be forthcoming. So Kenyans would definitely abide by the decision, and that takes us back to Cameroon. 1992, the Supreme Court found itself in a situation where they couldn't rule the way they wanted to rule because the hands were tied. Maybe the hands were tied by the law, or maybe the hands were tied by politics, or maybe the hands were tied by the police. That is up for Alexis to tell us. Now, in 2018, for the Constitutional Court, almost all arguments were kicked out. You know, for reasons that are well enshrined in the law. Yeah. So all those arguments, but the arguments that the Constitutional Court used, all of them are in the law, but reasonably they are not, because the Parliament of Cameroon is not independent enough to make transparent laws to govern elections. You know, so when we face these difficulties, we see it is very difficult to organize elections in Cameroon that the population would accept the results.
Okay.
And now you see in Kenya they're tallying the results, and everybody is seeing the progress of the results. Even though both parties have victory, they are still waiting, but they are seeing as the results are being tallied. You know, and it's governed by time. By Tuesday, these results are supposed to be definitive, and then they will proceed to the second round if there is nobody with 50%. And that is another thing that if it happens in Cameroon, maybe it's going to change the way elections are or the perception that people have for elections. You know, this election of one term elections is very detrimental to an electoral system.
Okay. We're coming back to you. Let us listen to the judgment that was made in 2017 and look at whether this kind of judgment could be in this 2022 in case both parties are not satisfied with the outcome of the election. Just to make you understand that we don't only have two candidates going in the Kenya's presidential election. We have Mr. Wakajo, who have also called for the the constitutionalization and legalization of some drugs, also snake meat, as part of the things that he claimed will boost the economy of Kenya. Let's have this excerpt of 2017 from Chief Justice David Maraga when he nullified the first elections.
Election is not an event. It is a process from the beginning to the end. We will, I believe, be able to demonstrate why we reached our conclusion that taking the totality of the entire exercise, we were satisfied that the election was not conducted in accordance with the dictates of the Constitution. Now, having heard from both sides, I want to read the final orders. Consequent upon the above findings, and as to what orders, declarations, and reliefs this court should grant, the following are the orders of the court pursuant to Article 1.
Okay, you saw it for yourself, the declarations he made. As far as that is concerned, he said election is not an event, it's a process that starts from the registration to the printing of ballots, to the voting, the vote counting, and to the declaration that all this must be constitutional. In case one is not, the election is not valid. Could this have happened in Cameroon, especially when we look at the 2011 presidential election, where the Social Democratic Front complained? Also, we moved to from 2011. We looked at the 2018 presidential election, and so we are looking forward for 2025. Could we have similar situation where the independence is seen?
Yes, in Cameroon, I don't think it can happen like that in Cameroon. I'm not very sure. First of all, there's something in Cameroon which will not even bring us to that level. In Cameroon, Cameroonians even are reluctant to register into the voters list because they do not have confidence on the electoral board. You see, if you also compare the number of people that are registered in Kenya as compared to Cameroon, you will see that it's two different things. It's not a debate. We have seen there are similar cases in Cameroon where the opposition have petition, and then once the ruling party, they own everything, they proceed with their result. But in Kenya, there are two things that attract my attention in Kenya. You see, Kenyans seem to have confidence in their electoral commission. And then secondly, they have given deaf ear to the foreign media, because one of the things that always cause trouble also is foreign media. I'm saying this one because when I was trying to make some research, I already saw BBC trying to put Ruto ahead of Raila Odinga, but I didn't hear it from the Kenyans themselves. You notice that this is a lesson that the Kenyans, all of them, they understood, and then they are avoiding it, and then they give confidence to the electoral commission, and then they are waiting for the results that is going to be declared by the commission. But so, according to your question, I don't believe that in Cameroon elections can easily be in Cameroon it can be declared, it can be cancelled if an opposition wins. I'm very sure. In Cameroon, it can happen when an opposition wins, but if it is a ruling party, it's not the case we can be talking here. It's not easy in Cameroon.
But you followed the outing of the Chief Justice at the time, and also he made mention of the fact that the process must be clear. But when we look at the 2018 in Cameroon, what appeal do you have for our lawmakers who probably are watching us now and are looking at the system that this is happening in other countries? What appeal do you have for our lawmakers? Because the reason is not to say it cannot happen. What maybe our lawmakers are not aware.
That's why I said from the beginning when we were starting the program that the ruling party must not necessarily have a majority in the parliament, because here in Cameroon we use the majority in the parliament. You see, here it is party discipline, and you notice that in Cameroon the ruling party will always do all the efforts to have the majority in the parliament, so that they will vote the laws that would favor the president and the party. So you notice that that is right from that level. You see, our parliamentarians do not have the mentality of like parliamentarians of other countries. Here it is party respect and not for the country. And I say that because if you are making efforts to have majority in the parliament, it means that you have a hidden agenda. You want to use the majority to maybe to stay in power. What we are seeing in Cameroon, you see, presidential mandate in Cameroon is not having a limit because of the majority.
Okay, Mr. Angali, I don't know. Maybe you can help us answer this. When we look at the nullification, I want to could we have a similar situation in Cameroon in future? Because as times is going, the government officials are becoming aware, increasingly aware that people are becoming more officials in other countries are becoming more on the constitution, not an individual.
It's a situation that may be difficult to predict, but one thing I know is that the world is going to change someday, and many things are also going to change. I am quite aware that at some point in life, Kenyans did not believe that they could trust their justice system. So it won't be strange that Cameroonians themselves could be thinking that they may not trust their justice system at some point. But it's not strange, and it should not be strange, because history has taught us that the justice system is dependent on the executive, and the executive is dependent on a very tiny political class that makes political decisions. So it's if Cameroonians do not believe in the Cameroonian governance system, this is not because people are talking from the opposition. This is because when you look at how things happen in Cameroon, there is no belief in the system. The citizens don't believe, the citizens don't comply, the citizens only respect because of the use of force. It's said that the population of Cameroon is about 30 million. But you look at the electoral registers, they're not up to 9 million, not up to, electoral registers were about 9 million. Then on the voting day, you have less than 7 million people.
You have about, last election was about 4 million or so.
Not even up to 5.
Not even up to 5.
So you see, it shows that Cameroonians don't believe in their electoral system. And now the ruling party has taken advantage of that to follow the law and insult the credibility of legitimacy. They are legal, yes, because they follow the law. The Supreme Court has read them, has interpreted the law to be what it is. Yes, that is legal. But now, are they legitimate representatives of the people? That is a question the ruling party should be asking themselves. And when you look at it historically, and if you want to base on historical precedents to determine the future, it's going to continue with this trend unless something is done to dismantle the system, to shaken the system, and then to re-establish the system. The Kenyan system is strong now because of the 2010 reforms, or no, it was 2008 or 2005 reforms that brought in a new constitution, and then the decision by the Kenyan people to abide by the new constitution, and it was done by a popular referendum. Now in Cameroon, there are no hopes that there is going to be a referendum to kind of change things. In the early 90s, before the 1996 constitution, it was all about a constitutional committee that came out of the tri-party talks that proposed a constitution, and it was reserved to members of parliament to vote for it. Even if it was opened up to everybody, it was still not going to be a reflection of the will of the people. If you go back in history, all elections in Cameroon have been contested not to represent the will of the people. And one argument that people are bringing forward is if people register massively, the votes will be so much that will be difficult for the ruling class or the ruling party to win the elections. While that argument stands, they don't rig because the numbers are so small, right? They rig because they have the possibility to rig and defend that rigging. They have the possibility of sending the military down to clap on anybody who wants to oppose that rigging. So when this very close relationship exists between the military and the executive, the judiciary and the executive, the parliament and the executive, you see that they are immune from any changes. And it's very possible that with Paul Biya's death, that could come up at any time. There is definitely going to be change at the helm of the country. But how is it going to be? Do Cameroonians really believe that if Paul Biya dies today, they would organize free and fair elections for his replacement? Or are Cameroonians thinking that if Paul Biya dies, the CPDM is going to ordain somebody and send him there. I think the latter is the option that they are seeing, because when you look at what happens in Togo, which is a French colony, when you look at what happens in Gabon, which is a French colony, when you look at what happens in Chad, which is a French colony, you see that it's very possible that history is going to repeat itself. Macron went to Gabon, to Chad, and kind of solemnized the takeover in Chad. So it's very possible that it's going to happen in Cameroon unless something happens to destabilize the system, to change the system, and come back to the rule of law. So Cameroonians don't have any hope of elections changing their government.
Briefly, how do you look at this system, Mr. Ngalim, where in Kenya, it is the Independent Electoral Commission that has the power to give the result, because they are charged with the organization of the result. But in Cameroon, we have a system where the Independent Electoral Board, better known as Elections Cameroon, ELECAM, organize an election, then carry the result and give to a different body to proclaim the result. How do we strike this balance?
First of all, Jarvis, it will be difficult to argue that ELECAM is an independent electoral board because it's appointed by the president, who is a member of a political party.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing with Kenya. The same thing with Kenya, where members are appointed by the president.
Yes, I am coming, Jarvis. And you would see that most members of ELECAM are members of the CPDM. They are appointed by the chairman of the CPDM from their party, and they go there. But it's completely different. The members of the electoral commission, electoral elections and border commission, are not appointed from the party, from the president's party. So the complications around making life unnecessarily difficult, is a specialty in Cameroon. They make everything complicated. So it's not surprising that ELECAM organizes elections, then tallies all the results, and then sends them to the Constitutional Council for declaration, which makes it very complicated, so that along the line, you have about a month or two for results to be tallied and moved along the chain. That helps in manipulating the results, in confirming the results, in adjusting the results, and kind of foreseeing post-electoral conflicts. So it's very possible that this is an intentionally designed process to make it a longer process, so that the anxiety that comes immediately after the votes have been cast is dying down. When elections happen immediately, if the results are declared immediately, the reaction is going to be different. But with the passage of time, the anxiety around that dies down, and then people are going back to their normal activities. Then they'll be informed about 2 months later that, finally the results of the elections will be declared. By then, the anxiety is already there, And I think it's just a political strategy to change the organ, because once ELECAM tallies all the results, then they send them to the Constitutional Council. The Constitutional Council also takes time to study the results, prepare themselves to declare, and it all kills the anxiety that comes with the immediate surroundings of an event. So I just think it's a political strategy to kind of draw out with time, so that people lose anxiety, and by the time they're declaring the results, people have forgotten that it was an election.
Okay. Thank you very much. Stay put. We'll be coming back to you. I want us to now look at this from a different angle. The Deputy President, William Ruto, was spotted in church today, Sunday, praying and thanking God for the election. And he called on all his supporters, as well as Kenyans, to be at peace and to exercise patience and to respect the outcome of the election. What caught my attention was the fact that William Ruto also congratulated members of parliament alongside senators, governors who were elected as far as this same election is concerned from different political parties. Let's get to watch, and we'll come back and get the reaction. We'll come back and get the reaction from Mr. Ngalim, and also we'll come back and get the reaction from Mr. Ignatius as far as William Ruto outing is concerned.
We all went to vote. the decision, the final decision is God's. So I want to thank all Kenyans who came forward to vote on the 9th of August so that we can choose the leaders of our nation for the next 5 years. And I also want to celebrate all the leaders elected in all the parties. Because as I said, we vote, but God chooses. And every leader who has been chosen in that election, there is a purpose for which God has allowed all the leaders who have chosen, who have been voted for, and God has chosen. God has a purpose for our country. I want to request and ask all of us as the people of Kenya to be patient with the processes that are going on at the moment, and to pray for the rest of IEBC so that they can complete this exercise in the manner in which we have voted. We've had a peaceful election moment. We've voted peacefully. We have gone through this process peacefully. And it's my prayer that we end this process peacefully. Because
that was William Ruto, Deputy President of Kenya, frontline runner for the 2022 August presidential election, in which on Tuesday he could be the president or could be the leading opposition leader, because it's kind of dicey. As it stands now, the supporters of both sides, from Raila Odinga, the Azimo, they are claiming a victory online. So with the supporters, so is the supporters of William Ruto. They are claiming victory to online, but the final say will be done by the IEBC, which will be on Tuesday. Ignatius, your reaction from the outing of the Kenya's Deputy President frontrunner William Ruto of the Kenya Kwanza Party movement?
I'm very happy with his reaction. You see, do you know that there is something I didn't hear? These people, they first of all declared themselves winner, but I did not hear any of them accusing the Electoral Commission of being corrupt. They did not use that word. You know, I can call it, it is the anxiety of especially the supporters who want to see their candidate win. This is a lesson. I'm saying something very good and a brighter future. I like his reaction. These people have confidence in their Electoral Commission. And then, my reaction personally, I'm still dreaming the time Cameroon will attain this level. Because when you see the reaction of Orotu, where he is, he's not in tension. It means that even they declare Odinga winner, he is going to accept. When you first of all see, they have a quite a different mentality from our own. Look at Uhuru. Is 61 years. He supports somebody who is 77 years. He's still young, but he gives way. So, Jarvis, there is something I'm expecting to see from Cameroon. When you will go to the Matangoba, you go to the Carrefour where bikes are parked, you go in the taxi, in a beer parlor, in the kiosk where they say newspaper, and you hear people saying the same thing. You hear people saying that this time around we are going to see the magic they will use to rig this election. That time, if that time like that, it comes, and you see Cameroonians reacting like that, Jarvis, you keep my words. Cameroonians are going to register not less than 17 million on the voters register, and that is when we are going to attend this type of election. I want to borrow from the words of Mr. Ngalim. He said that we need a massive registration on the voters card so that the elections. You see, do you know why people in Cameroon? I can say that the presidential elections, some of the presidential elections, the ruling party has won, like 2011, 2018. Why? Because the voters The number is very minute. The people who are refusing to register are those who are accusing the Electoral Commission that it is corrupt. They feel that when they register, they are going to waste their time voting. So they are always reluctant to participate in an election. Why the ruling party, those who support the ruling party, they are always happy. They say that everything is going okay. We set the exam and we mark. You see that they rush. You see a majority of those who support the ruling party, a majority of they rush to register. Why those who are against them, they withdraw themselves.
Yes,
it makes now the ruling party sometimes win the election, the presidential election. That's why I'm saying that.
Because if you look at the benchmark of 2018, it was close to about 2 million people who voted for the ruling party out of what Mr. Ngali described as 9 million registered voters within the electoral register. It's kind of...
That's why I'm saying that the key point in Cameroon is this electoral commission, like we are seeing in Kenya. When the Cameroonians will have confidence in that electoral commission, and then with the kind of the quality of candidate we have in 2018, excluding President Pobia, I'm not putting him, the candidate, because I admired all the candidates we have in 2018, excluding President Pobia.
Why?
We have is at least the respect I have for him is that we should give him respect and keep him somewhere to be reading newspaper. And then we go and ask if he should be an advisor. Here, you see, that's respect. If we can force our grandfather to be working every day, it is. I don't see it.
There is democracy. Democracy means the constitution gives him the right. So what you are saying is that maybe we should have a constitutional amendment on term limit and age limit.
Do you know that it's not just because of the country? There are businessmen who are the owners of company. When he attains a certain level, their children will say that, no, we don't like to see you so far. Go and sit at home. We let us manage. We are going to do in the way you want. They take advice from him. It's like managing a country. He must not be that people, it's because the call of the people that he should continue. He himself is feeling the tiredness. I can see it on his face.
No, he's not feeling. Because you cannot say he's feeling the tiredness. Do you know the largesse it is when you come at the Independence Square, Boulevard, and everybody's waiting for you, and the military sound is blowing, and you are the commander-in-chief?
No, that is prestige. Which kind of respect he has never had in Cameroon? He still has. Let me tell you, the respect he will have as an ex-president will be more than this one. Do you know what he mean by everyday living? A man of his age living every day, going to the office. Even though we are not here talking about, I just quoted him.
No,
because of the respect I have for him. That's why I'm saying that it is time I'm not imposing. Is my idea. So let me go back to what we were saying. The president should not be our topic of today. Yes.
No, so we are comparing the comparative.
Yes, we are
both sides.
We are comparing. Okay, Jarvis, let us compare in Kenya. Like I said, Uhuru and Kenyatta is 61 years, while Odinga is 77 years. If we were looking that way, like Uhuru could say that, no, I'm still very young and strong enough to continue as a president.
And if Odinga wins, it means that he will have about, he will be about 83 in his mandate, because he's 75, you said 75.
Yes.
No, 77.
He's 77 years
77 you add, because they have a five-year wait term.
Isn't it not 4 years?
No, 5 years wait term. So this 5 years means that you add 5 to 77. So by default, he will be 82.
82 years. You see,
and eligible to run again for a mandate which is no longer known, which is no longer renewable.
No, the lesson that has been given to the Kenyans by Uhuru Kenyatta, I believe that even these candidates, they are doing politics. They have learned. They are doing following what Uhuru Kenyatta has taught Kenyans. We don't know. It may happen that Odinga, Odinga also is somebody who really need. He also is just because. I can compare Odinga to John Fundi.
But he has never accepted that he did not win an election.
Odinga can pull the crowd. It's somebody who pulled really the crowd.
They always pull the crowd.
He never wins. Just like John Fundi, he has attempted several times.
No, when you say just like John Fundi, are you saying that the Kenyan system between the time he was corrupt? Because people are saying that, like Galim said, that Fundi may have won 1992.
That he may, no, but we have seen it is today that we are seeing the SDF that is down in 92. Really, you and I will know that in 92 SDF was you could see crowd when Fury comes out for a rally. So you see a rally like Odinga. You see sometimes he is responding to the call from the people. Just like you said that the president is democracy, is responding to the call from the people. But we don't know what will happen. They have a very good lesson from Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yes, sir.
I don't know whether you follow the statement from Ruto.
I actually heard him praying and begging the people to remain calm and thanking God for the elections.
Yes. Now, comparatively, what remark do you have for his outing, and also maybe an appeal for Cameroonians who may want to go in for future elections?
Yeah, the first thing I want to note about these Kenyan politicians is we are dreading. We are moving around on election day, even during campaign, all along. We are dressed in down-to-earth attire, jeans, simple shirts, jackets, just like you and I. If you get out there, you may not know that the president or the vice president is moving around campaigning for the elections. This creates a relationship of trust between the people they are voting for, the people asking for their votes, and them, because they kind of feel like they are intermingling. That big security, social, huge military presence is not there that intimidates people. They're campaigning in the midst of people that are campaigning from afar. And when they now come to tell the people, listen, we are happy with the elections, be calm, respect the results of the elections, respect the peace, it's because they have a history in the country, and they have understood that for the country to move forward, there is supposed to be peace. And the people vote, the people make the decision, but at the end of the day, it is the politicians who decide how the future is going to look like. In 2010, it was terrible. It led to conflict, and I'm repeating, the shadow of the International Criminal Court is hanging over them, and we are aware that go back there if anything happens. But at that, we should be happy that they are asking for peace and accepting and promising to accept the outcome of the elections, even if there are statements like we are the winner, we have won. That is just to keep the base alive, to show that confidence that you know what you have done, you know what you have put in there, and you are hoping for the best. At the end of the day, the results that will matter will be what the Supreme Court is going to declare. And of course, we have an option to always file an appeal to challenge the results, and they are confident from historical precedent that the Supreme Court is going to pass the right decision, the law, and hand them with the written laws. So they are sure that they will have both the legitimacy to be the leader. And when I look at the immediate past history, especially between the three politicians in Kenya, that is Ruto, Uhuru, Kenyatta, and Raila Odinga, there is a huge probability that the three of them could even sit down immediately after the elections and chart a way forward for the country. And that is a big challenge for Cameroon, where the CPDM thinks that as soon as you win an elections, you become the alpha and the omega. You become the most intelligent, you become the most popular, which is not, because the CPDM does not involve anybody in decision-making processes. Look at what happened during the Grand National Dialogue. They would declare that there is a dialogue that is going to happen. Then he sets the agenda. He invites those he wants to invite under the coalitions in which he wants to invite them. And his government doesn't take advice from outside. They do what they want to do. And I think that is not the problem. Not the way to go forward. The best way to go forward is to always talk with people from different facets of life. When you talk with people from different facets of life, even if they are the opposition, they help you have a broader vision. But because the objective in Cameroon is to conserve power and not to serve the people, they push the people further away from them. Even the CPDM people are pushed away. It's only a small clique within the CPDM that makes all the decisions. And you would see that this reflects in the electoral process, where the people don't matter in the electoral process. They don't care whether people vote or not. If the country is about 30 million and then less than 3 million or about 3 million people are voting, which are not even shut up to 3 million people vote, and they consider the results as the legitimate representation of the people, it tells us how much they look at legality. They don't care about legality, and even if all the 30 million people vote, under the present circumstances, what is going to matter is going to be how they will use the military to defend their power, not to defend the will of the people.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, Galim. Though we didn't have you on Skype, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Jarvis, for having me, and thank you very much, Ignatius, and all the best to the technicians behind the screens who suffer with the difficulties of the present world to connect people from all over the world and serve your viewers and your base. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for coming, Ignatius.
Thank you, Jarvis, for inviting me. I will end by saying that there is. I want to appreciate Uhuru Kenyatta. When I look at his political career, this is somebody who has done something, you know, similar to what we have been arguing. He is the son of the former president, but he did not inherit power from his father. His father ruled, another person came, he entered into politics, he played politics in Kenya, worked into the government, he had a very long profile, and then he contested for presidential election and won. He's really a role model to us Africans. It is not like in other countries like the CEMAC that the president will already place the son in a very important post where by the time he will be leaving, the son will just take power. And then I also appreciate the Kenyans for not giving an ear to the former colonial masters, because the kind of game we see here in CEMAC, we don't know whether one day we shall be delivered. Remember that when the son of Idris Deby just took power, the first person who visited Chad was the French president. Not even the CEMAC president. The CEMAC president, nobody has even arrived in Chad. President Emmanuel Macron was there. So I'm still waiting for the time that we shall take our own destiny into our hands. And I'm very sure that we have learned lessons from the West African countries. And this one has come to clear the doubt of inheritance in power. I had an argument one time with my friend, who is also your friend, Mr. Kedia. He should be listening to us now. When he was trying to quote Uhuru Kenyatta, that he is a son of the president. So I told him that he has come after a regime, of course, before he came. So I admired his political career. I will end by sending greeting to my friends in the Soft Education, not forgetting my friend Sir Opole. Once more.
Thank you very much. Thank to all those of you who took out time to watch the program. We want to apologize for starting late on today's edition. But before we go, I want to make this appeal to the peace-loving people of Kenya. My appeal to the peace-loving people of Kenya is that at the end of the day, it is Kenya that wins. And so in 2017, President Raila... sorry, not President Raila, because at this moment they have not been declared whether it's Ruto or it's still candidate Raila. In 2017, candidate Raila filed a petition to the Supreme Court and called for the nullification of the election, pitting the incumbent Uhuru Kenyatta, who was running alongside William Ruto. Chief Justice David Maraga, alongside 4 other judges, pitting 2, supported the motion of Raila Odinga, who was the opposition leader at the time, to nullify the election. And so the Supreme Court nullified the election under the grounds that it was carried out following an unconstitutional manner, and order for a rerun of the election. When the rerun was ordered, Odinga, the ruling opposition, the main opposition leader, did not take part in the rerun of the election. Instead, he stated that the same ingredients that made the election to be cancelled had not changed. A reason why he's not going for the election, and he described himself as the people's president. At the time when Uhuru was taking his oath with William Ruto as president and vice and deputy president, Raila Odinga was seen at the other side taking his oath as the people's president, installing himself. What is unique is that President Uhuru maintained peace and did not use violence against his opposition leader, Raila Odinga, who also defied the order of the court, Supreme Court, nullifying the election. But at the end, there was a handshake, and it was because of that handshake between Uhuru and Odinga that made things to fall apart between Odinga and William Ruto. As Kenyans move to look at the elections, which will be the results that will be given up in the days ahead, we want to appeal to Kenyans that peace should be the priority, that whoever wins, whether it is Raila or it is It is Ruto, whether it's Raila or Ruto that wins, it is Kenya that will be victorious at the end of the day. And happy Sunday to you, Yvonne George Kewara in Kenya, as we say to you, Asante Sana. Thanks for watching and goodbye from Cameroon's commercial capital, Douala, Fengudong, Bange.
Can I add something?